Hey everyone, I'm Anya Esma, and today I want to talk to you about the feeling of not being in alignment with your purpose, of futility, of feeling like everything you're doing is ineffective or doesn't make a difference anyway. And it's gonna probably be a long video because I have a lot of thoughts about it and a lot of things have happened that have made me have those thoughts, and I want to speak about it. So first of all, I will speak about the exact definition of this feeling so you can see if you're vibing with it, if you know what I mean. Then I will talk about why. So first of all, I want to speak about where that feeling came from. I think there are a lot of factors here that maybe you can vibe with as well, depending on your situation. So first of all, of course, the situation of the world that we are living in. It's not just about our personal experiences, it's also about the collective experiences that surround us. And for me personally, the feeling of not having an effect, not being helpful for the numerous terrible things that are happening on this earth is very frustrating. And I know there are ways around that. I know that I've posted about ways around that, about how we need to really locate our own agency and need to act through that rather than being consumed by this feeling of, well, it's not making a difference anyway. And how we need to push ourselves to still talk about what's happening in Palestine, in Congo, in Sudan, anywhere, to donate, to stand up for it through demonstrations on the street, and all of the myriad ways to work on ourselves, to work on our own shadows that are being displayed by these collective events to better ourselves. All of these things, we need to feel like they make a difference. Otherwise, it's frustrating. But a lot of the time, the reality is that we feel like they don't make a difference. And we feel like our actions are ineffective and it doesn't make a difference whether we donate because it doesn't even reach the people, or it doesn't make a difference if we speak about it because we're just one person, and so on and so forth. That feeling of futility, I feel, has gone from being related to the situation of the world to also relating to everything in my life. So I've started to feel this futility and ineffectualness in many more areas. But that's not the only thing. There's also the fact that I became a little bit or a lot addicted to my phone. I'm saying that as if it's something funny, but it's really not. I'm still laughing, but it's still really not funny, because I think especially younger people, but also older people, us not having grown up with phones at least, but still being consumed by it, are hurt mentally by being on their phones for so long. Young people and old people alike, really, honestly. Yes, there are good things that have come from having social media, from being able to talk to others, spread our message, share our purpose. But in many ways, it has become toxic, unhelpful. It's bringing mental instability, and we're not even noticing it. It's a very difficult thing to become aware of, in my own experience at least. I feel like I haven't even grasped the effect that scrolling mindlessly on my phone, whether it's YouTube Shorts, whether it's Instagram Reels, whether it's TikTok, has on my brain. Obviously, there are studies being done on it, and we kind of joke about TikTok brain rot and all of that, and decreasing attention spans. But overall, what does it matter what science says about it if you in the end feel that it's not good for you? And I think that's something we have to be honest with ourselves about. And I think that the endless scrolling, at least for me, has 100% become a coping mechanism whenever I feel that feeling of futility that I was speaking about. When I feel ineffectual, and when I feel like I can't do anything. I just go on my phone and scroll, because what difference does it make anyway how I spend my time? And that is such a detrimental mindset that I cannot even stress enough how important it is to become aware of it and to let that shit go. Because for me, that was one of the worst effects of the futility, that I just kept scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And it just makes your feeling of ineffectualness and futility even worse, in my experience. If you have a different opinion, do let me know. But by now we know that the app is designed to keep us on the app for as long as possible, to make us as emotional as possible, whether that's positively or negatively, whatever makes us stay longer. And also that there's a lot of bots in the comments that leave hate comments just to make us read the comments, get upset, and stay longer and read more comments or watch more reels. And I think this in itself is a repetition of that futility. It's another image of that ineffectualness that people feel. And the fact that there are people actually leaving hate comments, real people, not bots, also shows me that people think it doesn't make a difference how they act. It doesn't make a difference if you insult someone on the internet because you're just one of 1,000 people doing it. And there's already 100 comments insulting someone under a reel, so you might as well do it as well. And I think that is, I've never done that, and I will never understand hate comments, but I'm just saying, I think this is a mirror of that idea of my actions do not have an effect anyway. I might as well do whatever comes to my mind, whatever impulsive behavior comes to my mind first. Another thing that played a role in me becoming or falling into this idea of futility was definitely a terrible relationship that I was in. I don't really speak about that on YouTube. If anything, I will speak about it on my Patreon, which I will restart soon, but I will get to that later. Maybe I will speak about it there, but I'm not going to speak about it here. I will just say that if you are in a relationship that is so full of disrespect and criticism and anger, then it's very easy to slip into a mindset of futility, even if you think it doesn't affect you. I was long under the assumption or the delusion, you can say, that this relationship wasn't affecting me as much because I wasn't letting the terrible words that the person would say into me. I wasn't believing them, but nevertheless, it does something to you if you are surrounded by that kind of anger, impulsivity, negativity, and difficult unresolved emotions all the time. And I think that's also something that we can take as a lesson collectively, not just me for myself, that we need to be aware what it does to us to stay in a shitty situation. Because if you stay in that situation, nothing will ever change and you will continue to get worse. That's just logical. Unless a miracle happens and the other person changes and you change and you're not so deep in it that you can't even get out of it. But it's unlikely. So we need to really be aware of the fact that this feeling of futility is closely related to this feeling of, well, I'll just wait and see what happens. Because if you wait and see what happens in a terrible situation, nothing will change and it remains the same. And then you get this feeling of, well, I can't make a difference. It doesn't make a difference. Let's just wait. Let's just not do anything. So pay attention to your surroundings, whether that's your friends, your relationship, your workplace. If it's an extremely frustrating and emotional environment, it's going to take its toll on you. That's just logical. Even if you think you are absolutely guarded from it, you are protecting yourself from it, you are not believing anything that is being told to you that might be negative, it will still affect you because you cannot tear yourself out of your environment and just look at yourself as an isolated individual. That's not how our mind works naturally, even if we sometimes can have the delusion that it works like that, and that we are so removed from it all, and that we are totally fine being in this situation because we are still in control and we don't believe any of it. But that's not really how it works. It does affect you. It does affect most people. So look at your environment and what makes you angry all the time, or what makes you cry, what makes you feel sad, what makes you feel lost, and change that and see that you have the power to change that. Because when you're in a situation that makes you feel like your actions do not make a difference, it will show. It will show itself in your mindset sooner or later and in your belief system. Okay, now I've talked about, I think it was 3 things that I feel have had this effect on me. And now I want to speak about the steps that I took to get out of that feeling of futility, feel better, feel like my actions make a difference, feel inspired in my actions, feel creativity again, feel a spark again, and not just this numb dullness of meh, you know? I don't know if that's a good way to describe it. You tell me in the comments. If you have this feeling, let me know if that's a good way to describe it. Like, whatever. Just dullness, just neutrality. Oh, one thing I want to say before I get into the things that made me get better. I think we sometimes have this illusion that being calm, being not passionate or intense is the goal. And one way, unfortunately, to reach that goal is to numb ourselves, to numb our feelings, and to just be a shell of who we used to be. And I really feel that that was how I was living. I was a shell of who I used to be. I was sometimes feeling things, but often I was just neutral. I was just baseline okay, you know? And I don't think that's something to aspire to. I think it's good to feel intense emotions, both negatively and positively, because that's what life is really about. And I think sometimes I wasn't really idealizing it, but I was like, well, okay, maybe I've grown. Maybe I'm just older and more calm. But really, I think I was just dull. I was just numb, because I was numbing myself as well by watching reels or by doing nothing of any effect. And then the emotions go away, you know, you don't feel them anymore. Maybe because you suppress them, maybe because they're just not there anymore because you're not doing anything. That's how I felt. That's how I felt for a while, a good while, probably like from 2021 till now. Okay, now let's get into the steps that I took to make myself feel better and feel more effectual and feel like my actions make a difference and my actions are positive again. Hopefully that will help you as well. Let me know if you've tried any of these steps before. Let me know how you make them, how they make you feel, and then we can talk about it in the comments. Just gotta take a sip of water, and my water is not here. Okay, I'm back. So the first thing that I did to make myself feel effectual and aligned and like I have a purpose again was to stop reflecting. Stop reflecting too much and get into action. And that action might feel absolutely wrong and strange and unaligned and like it's irrelevant, but just do it. Just do it. Because as long as you stay in this reflection space of, oh, I will do another tarot spread and another journaling session and watch another video about how to find your life purpose, about how to be in alignment, about how to feel effective and how to feel like you're making a difference in life. if you are stuck in that position, chances are it's not going to happen. It didn't for me. It didn't for me. I had to give room to my creativity in new ways that have nothing to do with my life purpose, possibly. But still, I tried it, and it changes something in you, you know? I tried group sessions like cacao ceremonies. I tried group sessions for manifestation, and just generally being a part of communities. The struggle I had with that was that most of these classes in my area are taught by white people, and white people who are not really informed about anti-racism, about the issues of the world. They don't take a stance on it, etc., etc. Now, technically, that could block me from ever doing it, but I've chosen to take the mindset of just do it and just try it. You don't have to absolutely give yourself to it. You don't have to, lose yourself in this session and trust the teacher or anything like that, because I wouldn't do that anyway. I have a natural issue with authority, I think, but that's another topic. So I've convinced myself to just do these things, which I used to kind of not look down on. I would not say that, but I used to kind of discard them and say, that's not for me. That's for new age girlies, the typical people who have done ayahuasca once and think that they are now enlightened and want to show everyone else. And I had this image in my head of who would use these group sessions as a resource, and that's why I didn't go. But that's kind of a cynical way of looking at things, as I've noticed. It's good to know your values, your boundaries. It's good to know what you expect of a teacher, what you expect of a community, but that should not block you from trying things. Sometimes I think my boundaries are so hard around what I am willing to tolerate that I block myself from experiences. And in this way, this reflection loop can lead to not doing anything, because I always think, well, it's probably that person didn't say a word about Palestine. I don't want to engage with that. Or I don't know, that person once said one thing that I did not like, or that I'm not aligned with, or that I believe to be deluded, and now I've written them off completely. That keeps your circle very small, which is my exact issue. I think for people who have a huge circle, it can be helpful to get that clarity and that ruthlessness with boundaries. But for me, as someone who keeps their circle very small naturally, it was good to go in the other direction and to see what would happen if I did that, and if I just explored rather than writing things off immediately as something that I wouldn't like. And I also think maybe I took the consequences a little bit too serious sometimes. I'm like, if I go there once, I have to go there every time. And that is my community. And I tend to be very serious very quickly about things, for better or for worse. And in that case, I just got to chill a bit. I can just look at things. I can just explore and still stay with myself, stay in alignment, and just see what's happening around me without cutting myself off from it, because I think it's something that wouldn't fit me or my lifestyle or my values. So first advice, as I said, just do something, do anything. Start painting, start singing, start dancing, start going to a community meeting, start speaking to people that you usually don't speak to. Just do anything that feels right. In the beginning, I don't even want you to do things that are so ridden with resistance that you literally couldn't even imagine doing them. You can just do things that are like low impact, because honestly, yes, Amazon is bad, but sometimes ordering painting supplies off of Amazon instead of having to go to the shop is exactly what you need to do in order to get a creative spark back, because you just cannot bring yourself to go to the store. or the store is too far away, or you don't know what to buy. And it's just easier from your phone if you're kind of a low impact person. So allow yourself those things. Allow yourself to explore your creativity and to take action on it if you've been frugal and taken back for a long time. The second thing I want to talk about is watching the content that I consume. By watching it, I mean not watching it, but being careful about it. Being careful about the content that I consume and what mood it puts me in. This goes back to the rant I had about Reels in the beginning. Just be aware of what this shit is doing to you. Just be aware of it. Like the one helpful reel that taught you a household trick that you will probably use for the rest of your life because it's so good is still not worth the other 4 shitty reels that put you in a bad mindset. There were shitty comments under it and you just feel crap after watching them. Because, sometimes I'm like, well, I think about all the things that I learned on Instagram Reels that I use every day or that were helpful to me. And I'm like, well, I gotta be thankful. I would have never learned that if I hadn't watched these Reels. Yes, but still, it doesn't justify the fact that you have to sift through a lot of other content that might make you feel less than, might make you feel depressed, might make you feel like your actions are futile, might make you feel like you're not in alignment, you're wasting time. That's just it. It's not worth it. It's not worth it. So be careful about how long you consume content like that, but also about who you watch. I'm not really in the habit of hate watching people, but some people are, and maybe you're one of them. It's not bad, but if you're hate watching someone subconsciously, you're really just watching them because you find it disgusting what they do, or you find it somehow repulsive, and you're like, oh, that person, I can't believe they do that, or whatever it's giving you. I can't quite fathom it, but if you're hate watching, stop it. Just stop it. If you're stalking friends that don't talk to you anymore, or exes or family members that you don't talk to anymore, stop it. Don't watch their content, because it's always these mini small triggers that really deter you from feeling like you are doing something and you are making a difference. And the other day I was watching a reel that I found really cute. It was a family playing a game, and the mom was just saying something funny during the game and everyone was laughing. And it was such a wholesome moment. And that has the danger of making us feel this manufactured connection to other people because we're not there. You're watching the reel, you think, wow, that's wholesome, that's cute, but you're not there. You're alone with your phone at home. You could have those experiences. You could have those experiences in reality. And the phone gives you the idea that you are having them, but you're really not. So even positive content has this downside to it, I feel, that we need to be aware of. Even content that makes you feel good, you have to be like, why does that make me feel good? And wouldn't it make me feel better if I was experiencing that? If I was cuddling with a cat? That's kind of a silly example, but you know what I mean. I think it gives us so many emotions, positive and negative, that are uncontrollable, truly. And that's exactly the reason we use our phones so much. But that's also the reason we have to watch ourselves, because it's fabricated. It's a real feeling, but it's not based on something that you're interacting with that is close to you. So hormonally, that makes a difference in how we perceive it and how healthy it is for us. So I think it's really important to be aware of the content you're consuming, whether it's positive or negative, the people that you're watching, the people that you're listening to, the people that you're relying on. Question it and see how you feel after watching a video. You know, so often we hear this advice from, I guess, self-development content creators that if you meet with a friend, see how you feel afterwards. And if you feel shitty, think about setting more boundaries with that friend. Think about kicking that friend out, whatever. And I wish we would apply the same logic to the content we consume. Because with a friend, that's a lot of consequences. If you feel shitty after one meeting, you just cut them off or something. With content, that's a fair reaction. With the content we watch, we should, when we have a bad reaction, we should cut it off. We should stop. But it's addictive. So yeah, again, I feel like it's all tying back to this idea, this feeling of futility, of not being able to make a difference. And it doesn't even make a difference if you keep scrolling, and it's all just a big hole of positive and negative emotions that you get thrown into, and it affects your everyday life a lot. The third piece of advice that I want to give is to really just shift your paradigms about what has an effect on the world and what doesn't. Look at examples of individuals making a difference in your life and see that you can do the same. So whether that is looking at the evidence of protests making a difference in legislation, for example, or protests making a difference in the way people view the world, or if it even is you watching this video and me having a positive effect on you, hopefully, fingers crossed, see that and see that you can have that effect too. I used to find this sort of motivational talk a little bit, a little bit silly. I would be like, well, it's funny that you believe that you can make a difference. It's funny that you believe that your actions are at all important, that you are at all important, because I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel like my actions would make a difference, and I didn't feel like I was really making a difference in the world for some reason. And that feeling, it just stalks up on you, it's lurking, and then it's there suddenly, and you're not even aware of it. But I had this cynical mindset towards motivational speakers, towards manifestation girlies, which it's fair to look at that with some skepticism. But also you need to see how those mindsets can be helpful and how affirmations or whatever can be helpful for you to feel better and to feel like you have an effect. Because the truth of the matter is, if you look at the evidence in the world around you, one person can make a huge difference, and you can be that person too for someone else. Even if you just give a compliment to someone and it makes their day so much better. Not a creepy compliment, but a good compliment. There's so much opportunity to change the world in small ways. And I think I've ignored that evidence. And that evidence, seeing how one person has changed the course of my day, has made me realize that I can have an effect like that too. And that I want to use that. I want to use that power, and that I am powerful. It made me realize how powerful I can be. And that it's not futile to upload a video, that it's not, doesn't make a difference whether I sit here on the couch scrolling on Reels or whether I make a video. Even if it makes no difference to anyone else in the world, it will make a difference to you. It will make a difference to how you perceive yourself if you do something creative, if you do something you love. Even if it doesn't change anyone else, it will change you. And that's one person at least, So seeing your effect in the world and on yourself, and seeing the effect of your actions because it does make a difference whether you take a walk or you decide to sit on the couch for an hour. Of course, it makes a difference to your hormonal balance, to your overall well-being, to your mental health. We wouldn't even doubt that, but sometimes when you slip into futility, you forget that. You're like, I might as well just stay on the couch. I might as well just not, do anything. Or you have an impulse to paint a picture and you're like, well, I don't want to get the supplies out. Might as well not do it. Okay. But then who does that affect the most? That's you. It affects you the most if you don't follow those impulses. And those small callings that you feel are what will eventually make up a feeling of having an effect on the world, of being, effectual, of being aligned, of having a purpose, because that is what leads you to your purpose, even if you don't see it yet. The fourth thing I want to talk about that has really helped me feel more aligned again is movement. And that's kind of goes back to the first point I had about doing something, doing anything to feel effectual. And with movement, it literally brings a new dynamic into your body, into your mind, whether it's a walk, whether it's going to the gym, which of course is kind of heavy duty, whether it's just stretching, or what I've started doing is to use a very basic Pilates app and just follow the instructions, If you're not someone who likes to make up their own training plans and stuff like that, just get an app and just follow the instructions mindlessly. It will make you feel your body. It will somatically make a difference. And that's another thing. I am so focused on my mind and on reflection that somatics is very important to me. It's an important thing to remind myself of, because sometimes I forget it. Sometimes I'm so up in my mind, in my reflections, in my, perspectives, in my words that I'm tossing and turning around, that I forget about moving. And not just moving, like walking a little bit, but moving with deliberateness? Is that a word? I'm not a native speaker. You have to tell me. Deliberateness? Anyway, moving with intention, and finding the ways of movement that you like. It really makes a difference. I wish it didn't. I wish that I could find my purpose and feel good about my creativity by just sitting at my desk and writing, journaling, doing tarot readings, making videos. But movement is an integral part of it, because it somatically changes your body. It changes your hormones. It changes your perspective. So if that's the easiest thing to start with, do that. Even small movements, small walks make a difference. That is proven. There are studies to prove that even a 20-minute walk makes your brain function in a different way than if you were just sitting. Now, the fifth thing is feeling my emotions. That's also something going along with the whole idea of writing and talking a lot that I sometimes don't. I tend to intellectualize my feelings. And this feeling of it's all meaningless, it's futile, whether I do it or not, it doesn't make a difference whether I do it or not, I might as well just chill. That feeling is something I can describe with words, but it's also a feeling inside of me that is indescribable. And if you have that feeling, or you have had it, you know what I mean. You know what that numbness, that indifference feels like. And feeling that, really feeling it, rather than clouding our brains by looking at reels and feeling like we did something, feeling like we accomplished something, is super important. Just sit with a feeling and feel it. Which makes me realize these steps aren't necessarily like, don't do this chronologically. Just, if you're looking to try some of these, just try it in whatever order feels right to you. Anyway, that was a little like short step. Feel your feelings. I can't even go more into depth about that because words aren't the way to do that. It took me like 30 years of my life to realize that words aren't feelings and that you have to feel feelings. Otherwise, they will always be there if you don't give them space, if you don't truly feel a feeling through to the end or to the other side where it transforms into a different feeling or a different thought or whatever. So feel your feelings, that's the lesson. The sixth thing I want to say is to take those feelings and reframe them, because on those days where I'm really unmotivated and I'm like, it doesn't make a difference, it's all meaningless, it does help me to think, well, if it's all meaningless, I might as well just do the thing that right now I feel inspired to do. And if you don't feel that inspiration at all, try other steps that I've said before, because God knows there have been days where I didn't even have that inspiration. If you are so deep in like the scroll hole and the it doesn't make a difference anyway hole, then you might not even get those pangs of intuition that are like, hey, let's do XYZ. And finding access to that again and coming into alignment with your true impulses and your wishes is very helpful. So this is kind of an advanced step then, because if you have an inspiration, if you have a motivation and you feel like, nah, maybe I won't do it, just do it, because it's meaningless anyway. If you follow that logic, you know, if it doesn't make a difference, you might as well do it as well, because things, especially creativity, isn't about making a difference. It's about following your heart and following what you feel like you want to do. It's whimsical. It's anything but logical. It's not dedicated to an effect. It's just something that you do for fun or for self-realization or for anything really. Just do it. Okay, so where does that all lead us? Where did it lead me personally? Now, after doing those things for like the past, I would say 6 months, I've become better. I'm not saying it will take that long for you, but it's been 6 months of this process of me pushing myself to do more things, not always consciously. You know, the way I'm speaking about it now, that wasn't my plan. I wasn't sitting there in January being like, I feel like my actions are useless and I will do X, Y, and Z to try and make myself feel better. That wasn't the plan. I just did whatever felt right at some point, and I still struggle with scrolling on Reels sometimes. I'm not perfect. I still sometimes don't move during a day at all. The point isn't to do these things for the purpose of finding your purpose. The purpose is to just do them, to just change something, to just feel something, you know. And since 2 weeks ago, that has unlocked something in me, like a feeling of fire, a feeling of more passion. Because I think about 2 months ago, this is now like a little bit of a story time at the end of what the effect of all this was. 2 months ago, I was watching, I don't know if you know her, Harmony Nice. She's not on YouTube anymore, but she used to be a huge deal in the witchy community. But Harmony Nice's goodbye video, I was watching that, and that changed something in me. Seeing her stop YouTube and saying, like, just following what she felt was right rather than continuing something that just felt done, that inspired me somehow. Not to stop YouTube, obviously, but rather the opposite. It inspired me to create more again. And I thought back of 2021, 2020, 2019, when I was feeling a lot of inspiration and a lot of drive and passion. And I was thinking what was different then, and I realized I had my Patreon account active then. I was making journaling prompts, I was making essays, I was making collective readings for people. And I realized that push that the Patreon gave me to the pressure to make that content would be good for me again. I spent a lot of time taking pressure off of myself, trying to make my life easier. And I think in some ways I've gone too far, or not too far, but I want to change it now. I would say I want to change it now. That's what matters, not whether I've gone too far or not. So I want to restart my Patreon, and I'm actively working on that. And that has given me a feeling of joy and passion that I have not felt in a good 2 or 3 years. And I'm really happy about that. And I feel like that journey is thanks to the things that I did in the past 6 months, that I tried things outside of my comfort zone, that I realized that maybe my yearning for community that I used to always have, to find a community in my area that I could be with, was a little bit misguided, because it's an ideal idea of wanting to live a life that is not really in alignment with me. And trying it showed me that. It showed me that I already have good friends that I'm in community with. It showed me that, yes, it's nice to meet new people, but at the end of the day, that's not my focus in life right now. And I think I wouldn't have found that out if I hadn't tried it. It's so important to try the things that keep coming up in your mind, because maybe you'll realize they weren't for you actually. And you'll never know that if you don't try it. You'll always think, what if I had done that? That would have been great. It would have been so aligned and so great for my purpose. But in the end, maybe it wouldn't have been. And it kind of brings you back to your actual purpose. And with Patreon, I feel like I'm reactivating something that has been locked away a little bit. It hasn't been accessible to me. That sort of joy and passion for creating content, that feeling of, I will just give my perspectives out into the world. Even with this with this YouTube video that I'm doing right now, I feel very aligned as I'm speaking, as I'm blabbering into the camera very freely, just saying what comes to my mind. It feels good. And I'm so grateful that I got to that point. And I know you can too. If you feel that futility, you can. Just try some of the steps that I suggested. Try reframing the whole meaninglessness narrative. Try getting off the phone more. Try things you don't want to try, or try things that you've always wanted to try. And something will come of it. Because nothing will come of nothing. If you don't do anything, nothing will come of it. That's logic. If you do something, you have a chance that it will show you that it's the right way or the wrong way, and then you can make any decisions following that. But you're never going to know if you don't do it. You don't know what you don't know. Just try things. Just try it. Something will come of it. So yes, I'm working on my Patreon. If that does interest you, it will relaunch, I think, sometime September, October. Whenever you're watching this video, I will put the link to my Patreon whenever it's active, and I will announce it on Instagram, on YouTube, of course. I'm currently working on it, recording videos for it, and I'm so grateful that I have that feeling again. And I wish you that you have that feeling too. If not every day of your life, at least some days, as often as you can, because the joy of living and of doing what you feel is in alignment with you and what is right for you is truly the most motivating thing. So yeah, just make yourself happy. It's about you. It's not about others. The effect that you have will be on you. Your actions affect you. Your decision to stay on the couch affects you. Your decision to try something new affects you. And it also affects other people. It affects how you show up for your friends, for your loved ones. It can inspire other people. So that's the beauty of it. Never succumb to that idea that your actions are meaningless or your attempts to do anything are useless or ineffectual, because they're not. In the end, it does make a difference. It does make a difference if you speak about what is happening in the world. It makes a difference if you donate. It makes a difference if you paint a picture that you've been wanting to paint. It makes a difference if you make a YouTube video. It makes a difference if you call your friend. It does. So don't forget that. Okay, that's all I wanted to say. Thank you so much for listening to the end, and I will see you very, very soon.